It started with a documentary, a 2-hour special titled Chris Brown, A History of Violence, produced by Warner Brothers and distributed globally across major platforms. The film promised an unfiltered look into the troubled legacy of R&B superstar Chris Brown, from his early rise to fame to the darkest allegations ever made against him. But what was marketed as a documentary may have just become the most expensive defamation case in celebrity history, because in January 2025, Chris Brown filed a lawsuit seeking $500 million in damages. His team claimed the documentary didn't just damage his reputation. It fabricated criminal narratives, used manipulated testimony, and most shockingly, accused him of being involved in a rape and drugging incident on a yacht owned by Sean Diddy Combs. According to Brown's lawyers, not only was the story false, he wasn't even in the same country at the time the incident allegedly occurred. But the film didn't care. It wove the narrative, blurred timelines, and leaned on anonymous sources, painting Chris as not just problematic, but predatory. And for Brown, this wasn't just another hit piece, it was war. His legal team called the documentary reckless, exploitative, and maliciously misleading. They argued that Warner Brothers used selective editing, distorted quotes, and exaggerated public rumours to drive outrage and clicks. Chris had faced public scrutiny before: the Rihanna case, multiple altercations, ongoing questions about anger, violence, and redemption. But this time, he claims the media crossed a legal line, because now we're not talking about opinions. We're talking about criminal accusations, framed as truth, distributed as fact, and broadcast to millions. The lawsuit is loud, clear, and unforgiving. Chris Brown wants his name back, and $500 million for the damage done. Midway through its second act, Chris Brown, A History of Violence, shifts from past controversies to something far more serious and far more recent. An anonymous voice, distorted and hidden behind shadow, delivers the claim that in late 2022, a young woman was allegedly drugged and sexually assaulted during an after-party aboard a luxury yacht docked off Miami Beach. The location? A vessel reportedly owned by Sean Diddy Combs, a name already entangled in multiple lawsuits of his own. According to the documentary, Chris Brown was seen entering the vessel shortly after midnight and was in a private room with the alleged victim for nearly an hour. The woman claims she woke up disoriented, bruised, and with no memory of what happened. She later told producers that she believed she had been drugged. The film overlays this testimony with party footage, voiceovers from unnamed crew members, and even a snippet of a blurred-out guest list, where Christopher Brown appears in plain font. No police report, no criminal charges, just shadows, whispers, and a documentary that's now at the centre of a $500 million legal battle. Chris Brown's attorneys responded immediately. Chris was in London performing at the O2 Arena during the day in question. He has receipts, timestamps, photos, and contracts to prove it. The lawsuit even included flight manifests and Instagram stories as proof of his location. Yet Warner Brothers never reached out for comment before airing the documentary. They never asked Brown's team for a response. They let the story air, and the moment it did, the internet erupted. Cancel Chris Brown began trending again. Major playlists quietly removed his songs. A scheduled performance at the Billboard Awards was abruptly postponed. And just like that, a rumor became a global scandal. The question wasn't just, is this true? It became, why did Warner Brothers tell this story without verifying a single fact? And if Chris Brown really was halfway across the world that night, then who was on that yacht? On January 12, 2025, Chris Brown officially declared war. In a 67-page filing submitted to the Los Angeles Superior Court, his legal team laid out a bombshell case. A $500 million defamation lawsuit against Warner Brothers, the documentary's producers, and select individuals involved in the film's development. The complaint was surgical, detailed, ruthless. Brown's attorneys accused the studio of knowingly broadcasting false and defamatory content and of maliciously targeting him for profit. At the core of the suit, that yacht allegation, Chris's team produced travel documents, time-stamped footage from a London performance, hotel logs, and dozens of social media posts, all proving he wasn't even on the same continent when the alleged incident took place. The lawsuit also named specific producers and writers behind the film, claiming they manipulated anonymous accounts to craft a sensational narrative, without a single corroborated witness. It was, in their words, an intentional character assassination disguised as journalism. Chris wasn't just looking for money, he wanted an apology, a full retraction, and punitive damages that would make studios think twice before, in his words, feeding the media machine lies for views. He also requested the film be pulled from every platform and that Warner Brothers issue a public statement clearing his name. The lawsuit sent a clear message. This is no longer about public perception. This is legal. This is war. And for the first time in years, Chris Brown wasn't just defending himself on social media. He was going after the people profiting from his pain. But as this case exploded in courtrooms and headlines, a deeper question emerged. Could Chris actually win? As news of the lawsuit hit the internet, the reaction was instant and polarizing. Fans flooded social media, split down the middle. On one side, longtime supporters rallied behind Brown, trending hashtags like #IStandWithChris and demanding the documentary be taken down. They pointed to the receipts, the travel logs, performance videos, and screenshots, arguing that he was being targeted again. But on the other side, critics weren't convinced. They argued that Brown's history of violence and prior controversies made him a fair target for scrutiny. To them, this wasn't a witch hunt, it was long overdue accountability. And in the middle of it all, the entertainment industry remained awkwardly silent. Artists who had once collaborated with Chris, like Tyga, Nicki Minaj, and even Usher, declined to comment publicly. No statements, no defense, no condemnation. Streaming platforms like Netflix and Max quietly adjusted their recommendations, pushing the documentary down the algorithm without removing it. Billboard replaced Brown's name on their promo banners. A major radio station in LA pulled 3 of his tracks from its rotation, but one voice broke the silence. Kelly Rowland, who had previously defended Chris at award shows, in a brief interview, she said, "There's a line between journalism and judgment. We need to be sure which side we're standing on." Her words triggered a new debate. Is it fair to build an entire documentary around anonymous claims with no legal verdicts, or is this what accountability in the media age actually looks like? As the weeks rolled on, more celebrities tiptoed into the conversation. Some liked vague tweets, some unfollowed Chris entirely, others said nothing at all. The silence, in many ways, spoke louder than the lawsuit. Because in Hollywood, public perception is power, and Chris Brown's grip on both is slipping. As of now, the lawsuit is active and gaining momentum. Warner Brothers has not issued a public apology. They haven't pulled the documentary. In fact, they've doubled down, filing a motion to dismiss the suit entirely, claiming First Amendment protection and calling the film a legitimate work of public interest journalism. But Chris Brown's team says this isn't journalism, it's fabrication. And the difference is everything. For Brown to win this case and secure the full $500 million, his lawyers need to prove several things. 1, that the documentary made provably false claims, and that those claims, like the yacht incident, were not just misleading, but completely untrue. 2, that Warner Brothers acted with actual malice. In legal terms, that means they either knew the allegations were false or they recklessly ignored the truth. 3, that the film caused measurable damage. Brown's lawyers will point to concert cancellations, lost endorsements, streaming drops, and public backlash, all traceable to the documentary's release. But Warner Brothers is prepared too. Sources say they're compiling internal emails, production notes, and sworn affidavits from journalistic consultants who worked on the film. Their defense, that the documentary was carefully vetted, legally cleared, and simply gave a platform to alleged victims, without making direct accusations. But critics argue, if Chris wasn't even in the country when this crime allegedly happened, how did his name end up attached to it in the final cut? Already, the judge has ordered both sides into preliminary discovery, meaning they must hand over internal evidence, messages, contracts, interviews, and source material. The stakes couldn't be higher, because if Chris wins this case, it won't just vindicate him, it could redefine the limits of documentary filmmaking, especially when it involves public figures. And if Warner Brothers wins, it sends a chilling message to every celebrity that as long as it's labelled journalism, your name, your past, even a rumour, is fair game. At its core, this isn't just about Chris Brown, or a yacht, or even a documentary. This is about how far the media is willing to go to keep us watching. In a time when content is currency, the truth becomes negotiable, especially if the story involves someone like Chris Brown, a global superstar with a history of both chart-topping success and tabloid scandal. The media machine knows one thing very well. Chris Brown's name guarantees attention, and attention equals clicks. But here's the truth. Nobody wants to say out loud. Whether you love Chris or hate him, this case exposes how easy it is to ruin someone's life with a narrative. One unverified account, one dramatic voiceover, one edited clip, and a reputation built over decades can collapse in a single upload. Chris Brown has never been an innocent figure in the public eye. He's made mistakes, he's faced consequences, and he's fought for redemption more than once. But this time, it's not about the past. It's about a media system that no longer checks facts before firing bullets. It's about a court deciding whether truth still matters in the age of based on a true story. Because if Chris Brown loses this case, the message to every artist, actor, and athlete becomes chillingly clear. You don't need to be guilty. You just need to be entertaining to accuse. And that might be the most dangerous storyline of all. Whether Chris Brown wins or loses this battle, the real question is, what does it mean for the rest of us? When documentaries become judge and jury, when studios chase views instead of truth, and when a person's reputation is destroyed in the time it takes to click play. No one is safe. If you believe in facts over headlines, if you think celebrities should be held accountable, but not crucified without proof, then this is the channel for you. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, share your thoughts, whether you're a fan or not, because here we tell the full story, not just the viral version. And the next expose, it's coming sooner than you think.